Hey, beauty, what should we do when we don't understand what God is doing? In episode 171, I talked about Ezekiel chapter 16. I am still moving through Ezekiel at a snail's pace because I don't really understand it very well at all. But I came across another passage that I wanted to bring up. But before we begin, I wanted to mention that I offer one-time health clarity sessions for women seeking thoughtful, faith-fueled guidance around their health. If you'd like to learn more or schedule a session, you can find details at herholistichealing.com/clarity. Now let's get into the show. If you want to move away from modern medicine, if you want to discover healthier alternatives for your family, if you want a healthy body, then you're in the right place. Hey beauty, I'm Alexandra. I'm an author and clinical research nurse who discovered that Jesus is the source of true healing. I am the Lord your healer. Exodus 15:26. Sometimes we think God is kind of like our genie in a bottle. I know that sometimes I get stuck in that mode where I feel like I just want to ask God for this and this and this. I heard Rob Reamer, I never know how to say his name, Rob Reamer or Reimer, I think it's Reamer, say that we often seek God for his hand instead of seeking him. We often seek what God can do for us instead of just wanting to know him, to grow closer to him. In a previous episode, I talked about how I don't remember ever hearing about a sermon about the book of Ezekiel. And I think that every book of the Bible is important. So I want to dig in and learn more about God and what his word says. And I wanted to go back to the books that I'm especially unfamiliar with. So I came across this passage in Ezekiel 24 that I really don't understand, and it just seems kind of unfair. We can see from this passage that God is definitely not a genie in a bottle. We definitely do not get what we want. In fact, sometimes God does things that we can't understand, things that blow our mind, things that grieve us even. We can also look back into the book of Job and see everything that Job went through, right? So before I dive into the passage, here's just a tiny bit about Ezekiel. This comes from the ESV Study Bible by Crossway. Ezekiel is both the name of the 6th century BC prophet and the title of the book that records his preaching. Ezekiel's name means God strengthens or may God strengthen, appropriate for a prophet called to proclaim a message of uncompromising judgment and later a message of a restoration for God's sake, not Israel's. Okay, so let's dive into the passage now. Ezekiel 24, starting in verse 15. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, behold, I am about to take the delight of your eyes away from you at a stroke. Yet you shall not mourn or weep, nor shall your tears run down. Sigh, but not aloud. Make no mourning for the dead. Bind on your turban, and put your shoes on your feet. Do not cover your lips, nor eat the bread of men. So I spoke to the people in the morning, and at evening my wife died, and on the next morning I did as I was commanded. So God basically tells Ezekiel that his wife is going to die. And he says it like this: I am about to take the delight of your eyes away from you at a stroke. And God commands Ezekiel to sigh, but don't sigh aloud. Do not mourn or weep. Do not tear up. Make no mourning for the dead. The passage goes on to talk about how this is basically a foreshadowing of what's going to happen to Israel. They're going to have something taken away from them, something that they love, and they're basically not going to be able to mourn. So it seems like God was using Ezekiel and his wife as an illustration of what was to come. Now, even if as I read this, a part of me just wants to, I don't know, wants to scream, wants to say, what is going on here? Wasn't there any other way you could have shown the Israelites what you wanted to show them without killing Ezekiel's wife? I was reading this passage over and over again as I was falling asleep, trying to make sense of it. And the truth is that I can't understand. I just can't. And I can't understand because I don't have God's perspective when it comes to time. I don't have his perspective when it comes to every single person around the world. God knows what's going on with every single person, with every single country, city, village. I don't understand what's going on in the different spiritual realms. I don't have all that knowledge that God does. And I was sad because at the end of the passage, at the end of the chapter, God doesn't even say that he comforted Ezekiel or anything like that. It just says that basically Ezekiel did exactly what God wanted him to. His wife died, and he didn't mourn his wife in the traditional way because God told him not to. The question that I asked at the beginning of the episode was this: what should we do when we don't understand what God is doing? What do we do when someone close to us dies, or when our child is sick, or when we're sick, when we've been sick for a while and we've been trying so many things, but we're still sick? What do we do when it seems like evil always wins? What do we do when there's days and days left at the end of the month, but our paycheck doesn't stretch that far? What do we do when we feel like we've been working hard, we've been faithful, we've been obedient, but we don't see much fruit of it? What do we do when we've been trying to teach our kids certain things, but it seems like they just don't get it. They don't care. They don't understand, or they just go a completely different direction. What do we do when it seems like the world gets darker and darker and the days get more and more evil? What do we do when we look around and we become concerned because our kids are just going to be thrown into this crazy world that's getting crazier and crazier by the day? Well, instead of trying to understand what's going on in the world, instead of trying to understand what God is doing, instead of trying to make sense of everything in the Bible, which is actually a good thing. It's good for us to try to understand things in the Bible, but when we get stuck, like I feel stuck right now because I don't understand something that I just read, instead of just giving up or feeling like God is unfair, when I feel like I'm at that point, when you feel like you're at that point, that's when I feel like we should try to get to know God even more, press in even more, turn to Him even more, because He has shown us already that He can be trusted. Only Jesus would come down to earth as a baby, be born in a stable, be placed in a manger. Later, he was tortured and beaten, and he died on the cross for us. He showed us, he proved to us how trustworthy he is. And so when he does something that we don't understand, we can still know that he loves us and he wants what's best for us. And we can know that he knows far more than we do. So his ways are always better. That passage in Ezekiel doesn't show the compassion that I know that he had for Ezekiel then, but there are other passages that are very clear about how God responds to us when we're grieving or when we're upset or when we need comfort, like Psalm 34:8. Psalm 34:18. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Matthew 5:3 and 4. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. 2 Corinthians 1 3 through 4. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our affliction, so that we may be able to comfort those who are in any affliction with the comfort with which we ourselves are comforted by God. There are a lot more verses. I could tell you a lot more verses, but I'll just stop right there. The point is, like I said before, God has shown us that He can be trusted, that He loves us with an everlasting love. It says that a lot in the Bible, that He has loved us with an everlasting love. And so if you are grieving, or if you are dealing with sickness, or you have a relationship issue or financial issues, whatever you're dealing with right now, if it's something that is so hard or just something that you don't understand, I'm with you. You're not alone. There are so many things that I don't understand, and so many things that we won't understand right now. But I know this to be true. I know that God loves you so much. He wants to comfort you, He wants to be there for you. I believe that He uses other people as well to show you His love. For instance, I know that I've shared this on the podcast before, back in 2020 when we weren't really allowed to go anywhere, not even church. I found this couple that they had a church, and instead of meeting inside the church, they would meet in the backyard, and it was really cold because it was winter in Chicago, but it was so beautiful because they had this huge tent. And then later they brought in these heaters, and we would have church in their backyard, and it was so beautiful. And then right before I moved to Florida, I told her how much it meant to me to be able to meet with other fellow Christians at that time. I was so overwhelmed with emotion, and she grabbed me and hugged me, and it was like a hug that I've never felt before. It was just so motherly and loving and joyful. I don't really know how to explain it. But God uses other people to show us His love. He uses other people to give us hugs. So I just want to encourage you there. Go to God for comfort. Go to the other people that God has placed in your life for comfort. And if you don't have people in your life, I almost want to go up to you and beg you to find people that you can talk to, people that you can hug, people that you can share your struggles with. I think I heard one time that loneliness is worse for your heart than smoking or something like that. Loneliness is just really bad for you. I don't know what else to say, so I'll just leave you with this last verse, Deuteronomy 31:8. It is the Lord who goes before you. He will be with you. He will not leave you or forsake you. Do not fear or be dismayed. Thanks for listening today. If you like what you heard, would you take a minute to leave the show a review? I would love to connect with you at herholistichealing.substack.com. Matthew 11. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls.
For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Do, 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 Bye. Bye.
This content is for informational purposes only and is not meant to be medical advice.